his posts in particular, every time I read them, it's quite difficult to read because he engages in a lot of whataboutisms, they call it, in his way of arguing against things.
Maybe there needs to be an update to the policies of if you think about FICA, actually what does it encompass? Because if he's a Polish guy in Singapore, maybe he doesn't even contravene anything about FICA.
And I think it's important also for other public figures to also think about whether they should be liking or sharing certain posts, right? As we knew from the election, liking certain posts and all that can get you in big trouble. I mean, Ho Ching should also think more carefully about her actions when she likes or shares something also.
If you love this podcast, chances are you value real conversation. The kind that's honest, emotional, and stays with you. Now imagine a conversation like that about someone you love. That's what we do with our audio service called Folklory. We hop on a 30-minute call with you or someone you choose and turn that conversation into a beautifully crafted, personalized podcast for your loved one. A gift that shows them how much they mean to you and how much you appreciate them, which they can listen to forever. And we guarantee that it'll be one of the most meaningful things you have ever given them. Because we'll use everything we've learned from interviewing more than 1,000 people across 20 countries over the past 5 years, including the Prime Minister of Singapore. And if you want to make it extra special, add on our limited edition Folklory speaker, styled as an old school cassette tape, so they can play their story anytime, anywhere. All the details are on folklory.com or reach out to us on WhatsApp at the link in the show notes. So hope you can check it out because we'd love to help you create something unforgettable. And now, on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
How was the weekend, Terrence?
It was okay. Went out a little bit, but other than that, mostly just resting. My ankle is still recovering. Takes time.
But it's better, lah.
I think so. Yeah, but still, I think age has made me realize it does take a bit longer for stuff to recover.
Is this longer than the last time you sprained?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely longer. The period that you spend on horizontal is a lot longer than before. Yeah.
Wow, so it was really a damn teruk strain.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, only now that you realize, right? Because you choose to ignore, choose to pretend people are malingering.
There's nothing I can say, Terrence, that would absolve me of this image you're projecting on me.
Or the lack of compassion.
Lack of compassion. Please, you know how people, when they need to overcompensate and point out something, typically it's not the truest,
Depends on what you're talking about, right?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, would you say, the stuff we're going to talk about, are you going to say those people are overcompensating by pointing out things, right?
I mean, sometimes. I'm just saying there's a possibility, Terrence.
Okay.
So remember, when you point one finger out or three others pointing at you,
Yeah, okay, sure. Uncle, that's a damn uncle statement.
It is a damn uncle statement.
But how was your weekend?
It was okay. Last night, my kid started to get a fever.
Oh.
Because I think it's teething.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So the night was a bit rough. And today,
so do you tell her she's overcompensating sometimes? Making so much noise and all that?
Why so hot? Why? Why so hot? No, it's a bit of a Then she puked for the first couple of times.
Yeah.
So just projectile coming out,
Yeah.
So managing all that.
You got to monitor.
So it's been a interesting past day.
Yeah.
My wife is home today taking care of her.
Yeah.
So But hopefully it's teething. Hopefully it's nothing else. Do you remember anything about teething for your kid?
I mean, everyone says teething, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Fevers come and go.
Yeah.
But whenever there's a fever, you kind of just
check,
watch.
Yeah. And then give medicine also.
Yeah, give medicine. You have to. You just have to check every few hours, Don't take it for granted, even if the trajectory seems like she's recovering and all that. You still got to check every 4 to 6 hours or so. Yeah, that means you got to wake up and all that,
Yeah. I mean, last night I was just check, give the medicine. Then I realized about kids. I don't know what it is. This thing, but their hands become damn hot if they have a fever.
Yeah,
it's way hotter than other parts of the body.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
So I was like, oh shit. Then got the cool patch and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You have to do that. I mean, fever, unfortunately, young infants, they can't tell you what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So really, fever is the only way that you can track how they're doing.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, hopefully it gets better. But yeah, apart from that, back to the week.
Yeah, I hope you have some compassion for her as she's also struggling through the fever as well, right?
Hope you have some compassion for me for what I'm going through, Terence.
Okay.
With a rough night, not ready to just jump on everything that I do and just make it seem like I don't care.
Yeah.
Terence, come on.
But if it's the first fever, it's just the first of more to
many.
come.
There's I mean, there was a false fever that happened 2 weeks after she was born where we went to the hospital and ended up getting admitted totally unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, the first official fever.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but first of many.
First of many. So,
first of many, man.
Yeah, I mean, brace yourself.
Yeah, brace. Yeah.
You won't get any, in fact, you might get even more more frequent as she reaches school age.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Yeah, I know. Like I can feel your. Don't worry, I will. I've been there, done that. You learn from me. That kind of preachiness coming out.
No, but I do think a lot of people they downplay the severity of fever in children, and small infants especially, quite a lot. I mean, I've heard of people who don't even necessarily wake up to check the temperature of their kids and all this kind of thing. Or they believe in just letting the kids sleep through it, right? Sleep is more important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually think it's more important that there's more vigilance.
Yeah. But you had the thermometer, the gun thing, or the old school one?
Both. I use both.
Because the gun is not the most accurate.
Yeah, it's not accurate, yeah.
So just stick under the armpit.
Or the ear, right? They use the ear.
Oh, we don't have that.
You should do the ear one.
Oh yeah, probably.
It allows you to sneak in and out.
And more instantaneous also.
You can poke quite quietly and then leave without the kid picking up.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Armpit is, I can imagine uncomfortable.
And you have to wait. It's like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you have to wait too long already.
Well, thank you, Terence.
Yeah. Nobody gave you that tip before?
I think friends have said before, but not over this past weekend.
Okay.
So time to get it. Time to get it. Cool, man.
But yes. But other than that, there are people who are also speaking up for other people, which we will talk about.
Yeah.
But before that, what do we always tell people?
That if you enjoy this podcast, in the audio and video form for the full episode, it'd be good if you can follow us on social media. So TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, wherever you consume social media content, because we post shorter clips there, other clips that don't go on our podcast. And yeah, it's a nice community.
Yeah.
And if you want to work with us,
email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or check out our website at ministryoffunny.com. But also importantly,
yes.
we want to tell people about the show that we're going to be performing at, right?
Yes.
That is coming up very shortly.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to see us at our best alongside some of the funniest people in Singapore as well. What show is that?
It is called Happy Ever Laughter Party, which is a show put on by Dream Academy that we have been, very grateful that we've been invited to partake in. It is us with, I think, 9 other comedians. Familiar names like Rishi, Fakufaz, Jinx, Jackie, Sharul, and a few others, Don Xiao. So it's going to be running at Capitol Theatre from 19th to 27th June. There are 8 shows. Tickets are live. Yeah. You can find it on Sistake. We'll put a link in the show notes. So it'll be cool. I mean, it's kind of like a 1,000-seater, man.
Yeah.
1,000-seater. So, 9 shows.
What are we going to be doing, though? Because we're not going to be doing stand-up comedy per se, right?
Yeah.
So the question we all get is what are we actually going to be doing?
I mean, we're going there as Yalabat the podcast.
Yeah.
So it'll be two of us on stage. Not going to be a regular stand-up set. Going to be some sort of interactive element with the other comedians, kind of like a talk show, game show kind of thing.
Yeah.
And some other surprises. So it'll be a fun time.
I've always looked forward to Happy Ever Laughter every year. It's quite a what do you call it? Something
iconic
in the calendar.
show.
Something in the calendar for every year for comedy, right, in Singapore.
Yeah, almost every year. I think.
Almost every year. And features all the the best comedians in Singapore, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's going to be focused on the elections.
Yeah. I think that's the big reason why Yalabat is also part of it this time, right?
You don't think it wasn't part of the elections? They wouldn't care.
I mean,
And we had Selena Tan on this podcast.
we had Selena
man.
Tan on this podcast. But I mean, the bigger thing is, in any other period or year, right? You might not immediately think of Yalabat as part of a
Stand-up
program.
comedy.
Yeah. Alongside this. But I think, what we did over GE and how we look at politics and news from a slightly funnier angle as well. That's why we're part of this.
Yeah, so it'll be fun, man. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. 19th to 27 June, 8 p.m. every day except the Sunday in between. And that Saturday also has a matinee show at 4 p.m.
Yep.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Let's jump into the first topic.
So it is actually it is a review on a topic that was occupying the internets of Singapore last week. That involved an ex-president, current ministers, and a socio-political commentator.
Yeah.
So essentially, it all started on 23rd May when former President Halimah Yacob put out a post on Facebook, kind of declaring that what's happening in Gaza at that point in time is a human catastrophe. It's getting worse daily. I think this was just off a new an attack by Israel, and she said there's an attempt to starve the people in Gaza. The UN has warned that 14,000 babies will die. Even a former IDF deputy commander, Yair Golan, condemned this action, and her final lines were, "Keeping quiet makes us complicit in the violations of international humanitarian laws and encourages similar aggressions elsewhere. Our world is all the poorer for it. Uphold humanity." And there was a screenshot of pictures of articles talking about the horrors that are going on. It was quite widely shared. But then shortly after, there was a post by Critical Spectator, I think on the same day itself, that was critiquing very directly Halimah's post.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was kind of like trying to put facts to show that by Halimah saying that, if you're silent, you're complicit. Her being silent in all these other horrors around the world technically make her complicit in a lot of atrocities. And it was kind of like downplaying or pointing out that, the suffering of Palestinians was caused entirely by Palestinians themselves.
Yeah.
Some very polarizing comments. And he posted that, and it was shared quite widely also. Then after that, quite a few ministers came out and spoke about the whole issue, as well as about posts like Critical Spectators. But throughout the week, were you keeping track of the developments?
Yeah. I mean, as the moment it came up from Halimah already, I was already, this is interesting. A very, very strong statement from Halimah about her thoughts about this issue. I mean, she's made posts about it in recent years, right? And this is definitely something that is very dear to her heart. She speaks quite a number of times about it. And then subsequently, Critical Spectators post, I got wind of that as well. But I think the biggest thing was when the Minister Faisal Ibrahim himself spoke up against the Critical Spectator, right?
Yeah.
And why it's surprising, I mean, you and I were not super big followers of Critical Spectator, right?
Yeah.
But any instance that we've seen Critical Spectator being brought up and all, a lot of times, surprisingly, there are figures like Ho Ching, public figures like Ho Ching, who seem to like their post or share their post quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So there's this perception that Critical Spectator is generally on the side of the incumbent, right?
Yeah.
The PAP and all. But for Professor Faisal Ibrahim to come out so clearly and call out Critical Spectator for what he said about Halimah, right?
Yeah.
I think that was a very strong statement, right?
Yeah.
And considering even, I think as recent as a couple episodes ago, we spoke about Critical Spectator saying WP's NCMP strategy is abandoning Malay Muslim voters and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So generally for someone from the establishment to come out and so clearly call out Critical Spectator is probably the most is in recent times the most that someone has said about it, right? So I thought it was something that is worth looking at, like considering Faisal Ibrahim also is just in the last couple of weeks, right, just promoted to his new role, right?
Yeah. Which is the acting minister in charge of Muslim affairs in the cabinet. So I mean, when he speaks out now, it comes with that context. But I mean, I think even during the GE, there was at one press conference that Lawrence Wong himself was asked about, foreign entities or foreign individuals commentating about Singapore politics. And I think the person asking the question even mentioned critical spectator.
Yeah.
And his response was something along the lines of like, I mean, we need to be careful because foreign entities write about Singapore politics all the time. Anytime there's a foreign news outlet that writes about Singapore politics, technically they are a foreign entity writing about local news.
Yeah.
So it's tough to just spray an entire regulation on anyone who's not Singaporean writing about Singapore. So I mean, like it is surprising that occasionally Ho Ching herself shares posts because I mean, okay, on one hand, the Critical Spectator, he has right now like 35,000 followers, and he's been active since I believe 2017. I believe. Let's see. Since 20 not so sure when he started, but he's also been in the news before because in July 2020 his page was actually removed by Facebook. It was not Meta back then because I think it violated certain of its policies, specifically the use of multiple personal accounts to manage the page as reasons for the takedown. But after clarifying, his page was reinstated. Right now he's about 35,000 followers. He has a subscription service where if you pay a certain amount every month or year, you get access to longer form articles like that he doesn't publish publicly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so this whole thing, and unfortunately, you go on the comment pages of Critical Spectator Halimah Yacob, they're very polarizing. You have the hardcore Halimah supporters, or the people who side with Gaza, the people who side with Israel on Critical Spectator's post, and it's very polarizing. So okay, so if we take a step back, right? What do you think of Critical Spectator even writing about Singapore, given that he himself has publicly said he's a Polish person?
Yeah.
I think he's based in Singapore. He has been public about wanting to settle in Singapore, which I mean, I assume means that he would like to, get citizenship or even permanent residency.
Yeah.
Like when you see his posts, you think there should be any curbing of it? Because that's what Bertha Hansen recently said when she was kind of like attacked by Critical Spectator, that I think she said something along the lines of like the government should step in to prevent this guy from making profit. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I do believe that people should have the right to say what they want to say, right? But unfortunately, his posts in particular, every time I read them, it's quite difficult to read, because he engages in a lot of whataboutisms, they call it, in his way of arguing against things. For example, like how talking about Halimah, and then, I mean, Halimah's post, critique Halimah's stance all you want, right? But don't engage in a whataboutism, or how about this conflict here, how about that conflict there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the argument, because ultimately it's just trying to point out that a person raising a concern is a hypocrite, right? And that to me is like attacking the person's personally rather than trying to counter the argument itself. So focus on the argument, not the person, right? So yeah, that's the issue I have with a lot of what Critical Spectator writes. I mean, I still read stuff and see the value, and sometimes when they bring out the data and bring out the receipts of people doing things. But definitely he has a big fixation on pointing out stuff about the Workers' Party, that's for sure, right?
Yeah.
And because he thinks that Singapore is really well run and well governed and all that, right? So I think he's got his right to say what he wants and all. But I think very, very similar to what Lawrence Wong said at the press conference, right? If at any point you start influencing things that are being when you start influencing issues or candidates And especially when issues about race and religion, and you start mixing race and religion in politics, it crosses the line, which I think it starts to, I mean, I think he's come very close to that line, if not crossed it quite a number of times before.
Yeah.
The stuff that he talks about. But I mean, as recently as that Workers' Party NCMP issue, he says that, Workers' Party is guilty of identity politics, which I thought that isn't his post itself like identity politics in itself, right? Trying to point people to think about race when the NCMP role is not necessarily about race that the person's chosen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think he has a right to exist. He has a right to state his views. But if he does cross the line into foreign interference, I think there can and should be more action done to clamp down on what he says.
Yeah, because I mean the post that you mentioned about the abandoning the Malay Muslim voters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the article or even his post, I don't think there is any particular mention publicly by WP that talked about why exactly they want Eileen Chong to be in because of her, skills in Mandarin and all.
Yeah.
In fact, he quotes an article from the Online Citizen.
Yeah.
Written by Terry Shu.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's a bit of a line to assume that Terry Shu is speaking on behalf of WP.
Yeah.
But the thing about this Critical Spectator, he's a good writer. He's a persuasive writer. And as much as you say it's hard to read, I feel like if you just take what he says at face value, he paints an argument that I can see a lot of people agreeing with.
So you are persuaded by his writings?
No, I'm saying he's persuasive, but
you are not persuaded by his writings.
Why are you trying to ask me all these questions?
No, because I mean there's something to say whether he's really persuasive.
No, he's persuasive based on the way people are responding to his posts, which you can see on Facebook.
Okay.
A lot of people are.
I'm not persuaded by his arguments.
But just because something is persuasive doesn't mean it persuades everyone.
That's why that's why I would have to beg to differ that I don't find his writings particularly persuasive, except to an echo chamber of his own people.
Yeah, but to me that means he's managing to persuade people to buy into his beliefs.
But,
so to me, there's a certain element of him being persuasive. It might not be persuasive enough for you.
Yeah.
But looking at the people who are commenting and agreeing and cheering him on, to me that means okay he has a certain skill of persuasion. And when I read his articles, I mean there's a certain conviction, there's a certain eloquence that he writes with. Of course, you can disagree with it, but I'm just talking about the technical skill of writing.
No, but that's why I don't think that he's a great writer in itself. Not
Why?
persuasive. I mean, the arguments like I said, to me, the very basis of his arguments a lot of times just defaults to these logical fallacies. Fallacies in
I'm separating the writing from the logic. Like to me, those are two different things. Yeah. You can write like very flowy kind of thing, your logic might still be flawed. So to me, those are two different things. I'm saying when you read it and people who just go from this paragraph to that paragraph, you can see some sort of progression, but the logic might be flawed.
But that's why, to me, I can't categorize it as persuasive because immediately I'm like jolted out of reading it just by the flaws in the argument.
Okay, so that's your opinion. I'm just saying there's literal anecdotal evidence that shows that a lot of people resonate with him.
Okay, I mean, it's echo chamber, but he's not persuasive in that way. As in, he's got to be able to bring people who are not in your echo chamber to agree with you. And then I think then you can say someone's persuasive, right?
But if he started off from a Facebook page that has 0 followers, now he has 35,000 followers.
Yeah.
You won't say he's persuasive to a certain extent?
I mean, everything starting from 0 compared to now obviously is a difference. But I mean, he's been doing this for a while. Yeah. I don't think he's swung over the so-called swing audience, right? And that's what I mean by persuasive. I would like to see if more people actually came over to him, especially people who maybe disagree with him at all. Then I would say, he's persuasive. But I mean, it's not been the case.
So to me, I would still say he's persuasive because there are 35,000 people who follow him.
Okay, so you're a numbers person.
Of course.
Okay,
yeah, because if we are subjective, then there's...
No, can. As I acknowledge that it's because of the numbers that you find him persuasive. Okay, yeah.
No, that is something that backs up. All I'm saying is on Facebook and TikTok, you see a lot of stupid-ass comments that is grammatically incorrect, that can't even put words together into a sentence.
Okay,
to me, his posts are above that.
Yeah, but that's why I was just asking you,
Yeah.
are you persuaded by him?
I'm not persuaded.
Okay. That's fine. But okay, so you're just saying that his writing is able to persuade 35,000 people to follow him on his page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you are not, whether you were persuaded by him. That's all.
But then you never even let me finish. The first few questions you already say, are you persuaded? So all I'm saying is, someone can be persuasive without myself being persuaded.
Okay.
Someone can be funny without myself feeling his jokes are funny.
Okay.
Because there is my subjective opinion, and there is things that are maybe based on the aggregate.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see my point, Terence?
Okay. I mean, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But I would also say, if you find yourself persuaded by him, and that's why you find persuasive or what
there are times where he writes stuff that makes me think.
Okay.
Yeah, but then of course, if you question yourself, you dig deeper, you might not agree.
So you are persuaded by him sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes when I read the things, I'm like, is he making a point? And there are times in the past where he says stuff, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I wouldn't say it's mindless drivel.
Okay.
Somehow, same like we have gotten people on this podcast who can say stuff we disagree with,
yeah.
But in their world, their logic makes sense.
Yeah.
So in this case, some of his writings, I feel, okay, that's an interesting thought. But then when you read it, then certain things reveal itself.
So you do find some of his stuff persuasive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to
No, but you asked
clarify.
me, have I been persuaded?
Yeah, persuaded. But you have at some point by him.
No, you can. At the end of the day, whether you're persuaded or not, there might be moments where you are potentially being persuaded, but at the end, you're not persuaded. So when you make it that binary, it's very annoying, Terence.
But that's why I was trying to clarify. Is it you find his writing persuasive?
Yeah, I do.
You've been persuaded yourself.
No,
that's why I'm asking that question.
You can find the writing persuasive, but not be persuaded. That is my point. Which to me, you're making it one and the same. Okay. And that's my point. You can find someone aggressive, but have you been have your modesty outraged or felt the aggression? No, what? They're two different things, what?
But if you find him aggressive, the person is subjectively from your opinion, aggressive, right? So
okay, so maybe that one is not the best because there's a physical act to it. The point of someone being persuasive and whether you're persuaded, there are people in your life who are persuasive, but have you been persuaded by them?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the difference. I would just say they're not that persuasive in that sense. They speak well, but I wouldn't say that they're persuasive. If I'm not persuaded.
So, but how does that change the point? You didn't even let me get to my point. The point is, because there are moments, yes, Terence, my mind escaped me and I felt persuaded momentarily.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, it is something that it could potentially a cause for concern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you didn't even let me get there and you're picking on this stupid ass semantics without making me make my point, without allowing me to make my point.
Picking on semantics, that's precise. I was just trying to ask, whether you felt that he's
I still feel someone can be persuasive without you being persuaded.
Okay. But you have been persuaded by him. You just said what just now.
Okay, then what is your definition of what am I being persuaded? Just one sentence? One paragraph?
Some of his arguments. No, but okay, I mean, I get the difference in how we see it. That you see being persuasive and being persuaded as
and you can be persuaded by one sentence, Terence. But the overall argument, are you persuaded? No. So to me, part of it
So I mean, that is the whole semantics argument that we are getting into. I think it's just that we got different definitions of what someone being persuasive is, right?
No, but then I would push back on you by saying if you're persuaded by one sentence in an article that has 500 words, but you're not persuaded by the end, you can still agree that that paragraph was persuasive, but you're not persuaded. But for you, I think the moment you're persuaded by one paragraph, you are persuaded in totality.
No, that's a very binary way of
which is what I'm saying you're doing.
No, that's what I'm saying. Have you been persuaded by him before? And you said yes, you have felt certain things he's persuaded by, right? But when I've read his stuff, I have not felt persuaded to really see his point of things. Maybe in the way he delivers it or something. I'm not persuaded because it's just too much strongman rhetoric and all that going on.
So at any point, every one of his articles, even one paragraph, you never thought there's some point there?
Yeah, most of it is just because of the way it's delivered, it doesn't connect with me.
Okay. Yeah. So even between the two of us, we feel differently about it.
Yeah.
So going back to the point I was trying to make, it is something that can be a cause for concern when it comes to social commentary and political commentary. Yeah. Because not everyone is as learned as you, Terence.
No.
Someone can be susceptible.
Okay, let's stop this sarcasm, because I am trying to say that I don't find him that persuasive, right?
Yeah.
And you are saying that, okay, he's persuasive, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about being learned. It's just that I still feel certain things you read about his stuff, the way it's written just doesn't appeal to me and doesn't convince me of an argument,
Okay, so then maybe there are people who are more like me, can be persuaded in like certain things, then maybe the points make sense.
Yeah.
So even between the two of us, if we can come away very differently in terms of our opinions of the writing, that means that if you just look 50-50, if you extend that, it can be he can be quite wide-reaching.
There might be some who would read his things and find him persuasive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point, is that I don't feel he's persuasive. You feel he can be persuasive, right?
Yeah.
But and that's where we differ. But the point, that's why I don't think it's a good idea to start saying, because you learn it. It's not because I'm learned.
No.
It's because I've never read it and then felt like, okay, I'm very persuaded, because it just feels like someone shouting at me when he writes his stuff.
So same way, I don't think you should just extrapolate me saying he's persuasive as I've been persuaded fully before.
Okay. No, I never say you're persuaded fully. But
I'm asking, have you been persuaded
have
before?
you been persuaded by his writing? I'm asking about the quality of his writing and all that.
Yeah.
You see? Whereas I find the quality of his writing, I would actually differ also on what you said about the quality of writing being good and all that, because in this day and age of ChatGPT, we know what that can do for you, right?
Yeah.
But so to me, it's about whether he can put across an idea and convince you that is there. But I think the way he delivers it to me doesn't strike me as particularly persuasive.
Okay. And I can respect that. So
it's not about being learned or anything.
Okay, no, but then I hope you also can understand that when I say something's persuasive and you immediately ask me, have I been persuaded? It's a bit jumping the gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can finish the point.
Yeah, so my point is that this person does have reach, and when it comes to thinking about the foreign interference, it's important to consider whether this actually constitutes something that will go against the fiqh.
Yeah.
So that was a point that I wanted to make in like 1 or 2 minutes, but it's extended for a long time.
Well, but I think it's an interesting discussion, because it's, I think like he's also attacking in the midst of everything that's been going on in the last 20 minutes that we've been discussing stuff. I think he's also
dividing us.
No, but he's been attacking Bertha Hansen a lot as well.
Yeah.
Bertha Hansen came out quite strongly against him and wrote about how he's rude and everything, and he's a danger to society and all these things. And he also went on an offensive and then scolded Bertha Hansen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of almost like back and forth going on between that. So that's why, I mean, I did feel like, okay, maybe we just need to be very clear about like what we individually think about the quality of the writing. I don't think the quality of his writing necessarily is good in the sense of not convincing myself of these ideas. But I think you also have demonstrated that, you do think that some of the stuff that he writes is quite convincing, quite persuasive.
So maybe I give you one example, going back to the thing about the WP choice of NCMP.
Correct,
Why I would say there's a certain element of persuasion, even though by the end of it, I thought this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If he is saying that the WP chose the NCMP to be Aileen Chong and is abandoning the Malay Muslim voters, right?
Yeah.
You can almost kind of see the logic there. Faisal Manap, big proponent of the Muslim community, Muslim rights, in the Tampines GRC, not selected for NCMP.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you can join the dots.
Yeah.
But when you step back, you're like, hey, what is the evidence? He's quoting an article written by no one from the WP, someone else. So that's where I feel this can be persuasive. And for a moment, I also was thinking, does he have a point? So to me, if that qualifies as being persuasive, right, then I would say, for a moment, immediately I was not like, oh shit, like I had to dig deep and see the people he was quoting. Then I was not persuaded.
Okay.
So to me, where those sort of arguments, like maybe what you said, the whataboutisms, the straw man thing, there's a certain power there which is dangerous. Yeah. So when you pull it all together, it can be persuasive, but hopefully people don't get persuaded just based on that.
Okay. I think that's where the difference is, right?
Yeah.
Where I stem from like, okay, let's look at the argument, and then I find the argument flawed already, then to me, I just categorize it as not very persuasive. Whereas in the vein of like, you can disagree, but someone's can be quite persuasive in certain ways. And sometimes I read Kelvin Cheng's things, right?
Yeah.
And I can disagree with him on a lot of things. But sometimes there are really things where I read this thing, I'm like, oh, okay, he has persuaded me. Like really, he has persuaded me that, this is actually a better way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important that the type of arguments you use and all that go into the overall assessment of whether you should listen to someone more, right? And that's why I do push back when people tell me his writing, a critical spectator's writing is very persuasive or what. Because I feel that it doesn't have that same kind of quality like even like Kelvin Cheng or Bertha Hansen for that matter has, right? And that's why even the definition of saying that is persuasive to me, maybe that's why we got into the weeds about that.
Yeah.
But,
I think mine
mine
is instantaneous persuasion.
Yeah.
Yours is by the end of it, right? Because as I read, I'm continually persuaded, pushback, persuaded. So maybe that's how I look at it. What I was getting at is that you can read, you can find yourself being persuaded. In the end, you might not be persuaded. But I think for you were thinking about it after you read the whole article.
I read the article.
Yeah. So maybe we should have laid down the technicalities.
It's correct. Yeah.
But you see, like the fact that even between the two of us, an article from someone like him can cause us to have very different reactions. You can assume that it's happening a lot.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I think when Bertha was saying, the G should step in to have him not make profit from his work, that one also is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I don't think the government should clamp down on someone like him if, by all accounts, he hasn't violated any laws.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he has.
I don't know, man. Like, that's why I did feel like, okay, it's the WP thing, like you said, it was joining a lot of dots.
Fair, yeah.
That is mixing race and religion into politics, right?
Yeah.
You can't deny that. I mean, on the surface, that's what it looks like. So
True.
I don't know, man. He could have. I think Bertha's had a lot of beef with him in recent times. So I get a lot of the anger when she writes something like that, right? Which gives him more ammunition to call her, a has-been and retired journalist and all these kind of names, right?
Yeah.
Which is very ugly. Again, it goes into...
that's ugly.
Super not persuasive when I read his stuff. Talking when he insults people or, talks about them being hypocrites or whataboutisms or that. That's where I feel like takes away from the strength of any argument that he's making. But I do feel like, he... it might have been very close to the line already, because we've seen people chastised for less when it comes to foreign interference before that, right?
Yeah. So, but that's why, the foreign interference, if you look at FICA, right? Yeah. There are certain conditions that the things need to meet. So, I mean, from what I found, two main areas: hostile information campaigns deemed to be acting on behalf of a foreign principal, and manipulation of political processes.
Yep.
So, I think, who could be labeled as a politically significant person: politicians and political parties, election candidates, political associations, chief editors of political news sites, or activists or individuals with political influence.
Yeah.
I think where it gets tricky, because, certain things he writes, I also feel like, hey, fuck. I totally agree that when Lawrence Wong says, there shouldn't be race in politics, identity politics, posts like this, it is literally bringing up identity into a political decision that maybe had nothing to do with race.
Yeah.
Or that cannot be verified to have something to do with race.
You could argue that it was age, right? Like Faisal Madab being much older, and then NCMP role is not befitting a senior member of the Workers' Party like that, right?
Yeah.
You could even say that there's the possibility.
And even succession planning, you get someone in new, right? So the thing that's tricky based on FICA is that, activists or individuals with political influence, how you measure political influence. Chief editors of political news sites. I don't think Critical Spectator is verified as an accredited news site in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, as opposed to maybe Bertha Hansen's stance of the G should clamp down on him, I think maybe there needs to be an update to the policies of if you think about FICA, actually what does it encompass? Because if he's a Polish guy in Singapore, maybe it doesn't even contravene anything about FICA.
Possibly, yeah.
And that's where I think it gets tricky.
Yeah, as
it
a
gets tricky.
foreigner, I guess that would contravene things, right? Because there are rules like, foreigners can't participate in protests like Pink Dot, for example, or fund, things like Pink Dot,
But then if a foreigner is writing about politics in Singapore, technically it's not illegal.
It's not
it
illegal.
Then becomes what he or she writes about.
Yeah.
And because there's that grey area, I think that's where this critical spectator. Of course, there are conspiracy theories about why he's doing it, how he's doing it. But when I read it, I think on one hand you want people to voice their opinions, but when it goes to touching like things about like really bringing things like race and identity into things that don't really or we can't verify has it to be part of it, then it's tricky.
Yeah, I think this Halimah's post also, or his response to Halimah's post also triggered reactions, right? Because we are talking about the former president of Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say, it was an office holder of, in Singapore. And if you so publicly call her out and call her complicit in this and that and all, I think that someone has to speak up against that. But in that same vein, I do think talking about the Workers' Party, NCMP, the NCMPs, I think that is maybe even worse because you're talking about someone who's going to be sitting in political office for the next 5 years, right? So you're going to talk fika and all that. I think that's even more fika than talking about Halimah, because Halimah technically is a citizen now, right? She's the ex-president. But talking about current members of parliament and accusing some grand conspiracy of like abandoning the Malay Muslim population in Singapore, I think that's worse, man. That's if you ask me, actually that one should have fica'd more readily, or at least people should have been more. They were spoken up more against it. I think Workers' Party, there was some. I think Lee Jen Jong or what posted something about it. I didn't hear it from the establishment itself.
And that's where it's annoying, because we had a guest, Harpreet, talk something about the government not wanting the non-Chinese PM, right? Yeah. And Petir.sg came out with some clarifications.
Yeah.
To highlight that how what he said may not be factually correct.
Yeah.
In this stance, it is a huge allegation towards the WP. But the opposition doesn't have the mechanics to kind of clamp down on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can't issue POFMA or anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because technically, if the same thing was said about PAP, of course not with NCMP, with something else, you can be sure there'll be a big POFMA.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where it does feel like when you hear people say critical spectator is like, fervent supporter of the PAP, the establishment, which he himself admits, and you see his post being shared by Ho Ching, it just leaves a very bad taste. Because it feels like he's not playing on a level playing field.
Yeah. And I think that's where maybe it's good that Faisal Ibrahim came out so strongly against the critical spectator and pointed out specifically, right?
Yeah.
No ums and ahs about it. I think that's important. And I think it's important also for other, public figures or what to also think about whether they should be liking or sharing certain posts, right?
Yeah.
As we knew from the election, liking certain posts and all that can get you in big trouble. You get Meta to have to investigate for a long time about things.
Still investigating.
So, I mean, Ho Ching should also think more carefully about her actions when she likes or shares something also, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also curious to know what people think about posts that they have chanced upon or anything from critical spectator, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Yeah. Because, I mean, just skimming through his article, replying to Bertha Hansen, there is a lot of things that, his personal attacks, he's jumping to conclusions. And I mean, even his answer to why he didn't respond to Prof. Faisal's sentiment doesn't really make the most sense. Yeah. The thing is, I think, because his writing, would you say it's forceful?
It's like angry.
It's angry. Yeah. Angry. And I think that maybe plays into what I meant by saying like the persuasion thing.
Okay.
It's almost like, you read it, you feel certain element of like being gaslighted a bit. Yeah. So I think that in some sense is a manner of persuasion, right? To me.
But okay. So it was just the definition of being persuasive, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling gaslighted, I merely I mean, shut off already, lah. You know. Yeah.
But you shouldn't be that also, because cannot be one word and you don't call me out if I'm misusing it. What? All I'm saying is maybe that is an element of being persuaded that I feel sometimes when I read.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this case, I think, yeah, like and the thing about text and Facebook posts, they're very easily shared.
Yeah.
And that is where it is dangerous, lah.
Yeah.
And I think, like what you said, the biggest thing is if public office holders or people who are public figures share these posts, those also need to be analyzed and critiqued and called out, lah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess Huching, not just once, lah, a few times, right?
Already, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it gets tricky, lah.
Yeah.
And I mean, this critical spectator, I don't think he's going to go away.
Yeah.
In fact, he's doubling down.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason for him to go away. I just think it's probably a good step that, people take a stance against when he comes too close to the bone, talking about some of these issues that they're really like very close to what Lawrence Wong is saying about bringing race and religion to politics already. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe he knows that Prof. Faisal has a acting, MP, has maybe more resources to clamp down on him than Halimah.
Possibly. There could be that fear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because in one hand, both of them are public figures who kind of echoed the same thing. His what Critical Spectator pointed out was that Prof. Faisal said interference, both local or foreign, and that absolved him, which I find is also weak.
Yeah.
That one not persuaded, Terence. That one I did not find persuasive at all.
Yeah, I know. That's why, again, of course, you talk about locals also, it's not about, that's about me, but then now you choose. No, it is about you, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I mean, that whole case has kind of come to a close, technically.
I hope so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely won't be the last we hear of the individuals involved.
Yeah, this has made international news as well, right? I think SCMP posted Singapore's new Muslim Affairs Minister lays down firm stance on Gaza issue and takes a tougher position than his predecessor in defending former President Halimah Yacob against the Critical Spectator. That's internationally what people are reading also.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if this leads to more people speaking up against Critical Spectator.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yes, speaking of speaking up, right? Something also has been developing in the retail / influencer space where, someone who has been on our podcast before
a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of times. One of our most beloved guests has called out a very big international brand for basically for producing something that's almost very, 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 very similar to something that she's produced, right? What is this story about?
It concerns Tanya Tan, who has been on our podcast before, who has acted opposite me in our TV show, She's a Terrorist and I Love Her.
Yes.
So she launched something, I think sometime in May, a new thing called Pointy Rice.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of honoring the Chai Fan in Singapore.
Yeah.
And it's in the form of stickers, which you can kind of put together into a plate and come up with like a customized sticker based on what you want, what the dishes you choose. So she put out a video last week kind of saying that she's heard from a lot of her followers that Uniqlo's Thank You Festival celebration, which ran till May 29th, was a bit too similar for comfort. So basically what that campaign involved is that customers who spend $100 and above in the store at Orchard Central and Jewel would receive a customizable mixed rice keychain.
Yeah.
Mixed rice is Chai Fan. So they can pick little acrylic dishes to fit inside a plate-shaped keychain.
Yeah.
So in some sense, it is also allowing you to customize this end product with the choices of your dishes. Except this would be acrylic as opposed to the stickers. And she put out a video kind of saying that, she was alerted about this. The funny thing was she reached out to Uniqlo previously about a collab on this idea, which was politely declined. And then now they come out with this. And I think I don't recall her saying, outright that they copied.
Yeah.
And I'll read and I quote what she said. I cannot say they copied me, but the internet got mad for me. I've done a lot of research. I started with Chai Fan because no one had done the concept in this way, and I understand why now. It's not an easy project. It's extremely difficult to design each digital asset, then produce it as a physical product. And then she said that, she would appreciate some sort of acknowledgement because at the end of the day, we are all Singaporean.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, Terence?
I think important thing also to point out that Caitanya said that it's not so much the actual product, the keychain that she said about, but the concept of a pop-up that she did at a local market, a local fair, that she put research and finances into that hurt her the most. Yeah. And Uniqlo did respond to ST, right, saying that they had been planning for this keychain several months prior to launch already, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think they reached out to her after she posted her video.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe so, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that as well as, overall, like when what do you think of Keitanya's pointy rice concept in the first
I actually really like the idea.
Yeah.
I really like the idea because, I love Chai Fan.
Yeah.
I think we have spoken about some awesome Chai Fan near our office. But to create something that plays up dish in Singapore that is so, like, everywhere, but also so customizable, quite cool.
Yeah.
And I thought I like the name, Pointy Rice, because, you point
rice.
which rice, which dish you want.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great concept.
Yeah, and I think it plays into her, her online persona perfectly as well.
Yeah.
Where she talks a lot about how to pronounce, words, how do Singaporeans speak, and what's unique about how we speak in Singapore and the way we pronounce things. So, like Cai Peng or Cai Fan is one of the most very, very uniquely Singapore things, right?
Yeah.
That quite beloved by all office workers and all. And so it totally plays into her online persona, and I think it's a great extension of what she does.
Yeah.
But that said, do you think Uniqlo copied her idea?
This is also off the back of another controversy that Uniqlo was kind of involved in, which is a T-shirt they launched that was very similar to a T-shirt that was launched by Musoka Club.
Yeah. Local T-shirt brand, right?
Yeah. And again, it was part of the same Thank You Festival. So the local T-shirt brand Musoka Club, they have a T-shirt that shows, kaya butter toast set. So the Kaya Toast Club.
Yeah.
With 4 pieces of bread with Kaya toast, Kaya and butter, eggs, soy sauce, salt and pepper, and a coffee cup. And Uniqlo's collection is very similar in the sense that it features all the same components.
Yeah.
So also caught the attention of Musoka Club's founder, and the same thing, the fans were kind of like alerting it to her. I think there was also the chili crab T-shirt that looked quite similar. So when you look at it, bak kut teh also.
Yeah.
So quite similar, and in fact, there's almost like a 1-for-1. For Musoka, there's Kaya Toast Club, Chili Crab Club, Chicken Rice, Laksa, bak kut teh. Uniqlo, they had the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, you're like, ooh.
Yeah. For the T-shirt side of things, I'm shocked even by the layout of the T-shirt as well, right?
Yeah.
So, the labels of everything, and then like having not arrows, but what do you call it? Little lines that point to the food, and then label all the food and all that. It's so similar to the Musoka Club's T-shirts, right? That it's very hard to look at it and say that, they were completely independently thought of at the same time. Even the illustration style, in some way, got similarities, right?
Yeah, and unlike the one in Kate's case, which, I think Kate's case, I think there's less of a case there.
Okay.
Because, on one hand, there are different formats, right?
Yeah.
One is a keychain. Yes, you can customize it. One is a sticker.
Yeah.
But when you look at his Musoka Club thing, to me, this case is a lot stronger. Because for Kate, Ketania's one, right? I think she launched it only like a month ago.
Yeah.
Or a month before the Uniqlo one came out.
Yeah.
So it's almost so close that you think about a big company like Uniqlo, even though, yes, the Singapore Uniqlo branches might do something custom, doesn't feel like it can be activated in 1 or 2 months. But the Musoka Club one,
Yeah.
the Kaya Toast one came out in 2023.
Yeah. It's very, very similar. Yeah.
So that's 2 years ago. So when I look at it, then I'm like, oh, okay, that one feels a bit dicey.
And I think the Musoka people have pointed out that a lot of people or their fans mistakenly thought that it was a collaboration with Uniqlo, right? Because it's that similar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ketania also said that she got messages from people asking if she was collaborating with Uniqlo. So the fact that people mistakenly think that you are collaborating with a much larger brand, do you think that makes Uniqlo complicit in the act of plagiarism in some ways? The fact that people mistake what they're doing for what Kate is doing also.
I don't think that automatically makes them complicit.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, it's not necessarily complicit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like different formats. Unless they're saying what is complicit is the fact that you can customize it based on what dish you want. But that one is a bit of a stretch.
Bit hard to put IP on that, right?
Yeah. It's a bit hard to put IP on that. But then when you look at the t-shirt thing, that one is a lot more of an apple-to-apple comparison.
Yeah.
But then looking at the t-shirt thing, does it make you re-look at Ketania's case with a different perspective?
It does. I think like for the reasons you mentioned earlier, and the fact that the t-shirt thing, it's a much more clear-cut case of, not say clear-cut, but I think it is much more similarities, right, in terms of the layout and the format of it, both being t-shirts as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, compared to Ketania's case where it's stickers versus keychains, there are differences, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I think I also just want to say that I think the founders of the Musoka also, they made a very good point that once the design that Uniqlo did is mass produced, right, and the design generally feels very mass market already, feels like it's expired, and any new design that they try to come up with based on food and all that will almost. People might mistake that it's copying Uniqlo, if anything, right? Not that Uniqlo copied them, but they copied Uniqlo. So I think it really does have an effect on the artists when they do things like that. And that's why copyright IP is like, it's such a tough thing for artists, especially when dealing with very big brands like Uniqlo and all that. Because Uniqlo can say that, we've never seen your artwork before, right? We've never seen how you do things like that before.
Yeah.
We conceived of it entirely our own. But the thing about big businesses also is that they take a long time to conceive of ideas that come with them. So Ketania's one, there was a 1 month runway, if anything, right?
Yeah.
But for the Musoka ones, there was a bit more time between when Musoka came out with it and when Uniqlo came out with it.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like Uniqlo, they want to do this to honor local culture, local dishes. And I would say if I ask any person on the street to come up with, okay, what are the 5 iconic dishes in Singapore?
Yeah.
Probably you ask like 500 people, these 5 things would come up.
Yeah. Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's say if Uniqlo wanted to do this, and it's totally in parallel with Musoka, and they came up with no influence at all, would you still be like, hey, Uniqlo, why you have to design like this?
I would say, yeah. I think as a big business, you should not be. There should be more care given into not putting yourself in the line of danger of copying or so. Later you kena sued or all that as well, right?
Yeah.
So they have teams of people. They hire a big MNC and everything. They hire a lot of people to look into these kind of things, and there needs to be more oversight that no issues of copyright or anything come up, right? Because if they did it entirely independently and didn't even look left, look right and try and see if anyone else has done anything similar, then also a bit naive on their part, right? As a big global business.
I like how you use look left, look right as
To-
part of the lexicon now.
It is. It is.
No, but I agree with you because like even when we think of video ideas,
Yeah.
we are a small ass outfit.
Yeah.
When we think of TV show ideas, the moment we have a seed of an idea, one of the first things that we do is, has this ever been done before?
Yeah.
And how else has other people done it? And whether we can build on what they've done and do a different take. So I think while I don't see that much of a case in Ketanya's case, looking at this one especially, it makes me look at her case a bit differently. And for all we know, right, for big organizations, maybe there was a person on the Uniqlo team, the creative team, because this is not going to be done in Japan. It's local dishes, right?
Yeah.
When they were thinking of ideas, maybe they had seen some of these designs and they were like, oh, actually they just pitched the idea and it took on a life of its own inside Uniqlo. You can totally imagine that happening, right? And the thing about Kate, she told us about this pointy rice idea months ago, right? So if she actually did meet Uniqlo, or if she goes to a lot of events, she does a lot of hosting, maybe she mentioned it to someone about it being developed and they just came out with something that's not entirely similar, but there's certain shades of similarity. I think when you couple these two, then it feels like, hey, is this really purely coincidental?
Yeah.
Yeah, the t-shirt is the one that is a lot trickier.
Smoking gun.
Smoking gun.
Yeah.
And like the founder, right, Miss Elaine, she was very eloquent when she was saying, to us, it's not just a design because it's our number one bestseller, it's our identity. It feels like we lost that special thing we used to have.
Correct, yeah.
So I feel there needs to be a bit more clarity on this, even though I don't think there's any more incentive for Uniqlo to come out and say something. You invite these people to an event, say thank you and all. Is that enough?
What could come out of it is actually collaborating with them, right? Whether it's collaborating with Kate's brand or collaborating with Musoka, if they want to, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that we just because Uniqlo wants to collaborate with you doesn't necessarily mean immediately everyone wants it, right?
Yeah.
But I would think that there's some way to salvage the situation.
Which would be what?
Which would be to actually do a collaboration with Musoka and maybe even Kate's brand as well, right? I think Uniqlo works a lot with local brands.
Yeah,
and you have to give them that. I bought some of their stuff where they work with local brands and, you go up to the store and then they print it on the spot for you. It's quite cool and all that. And I don't know how much revenue actually brings to these local artists, but at least they get the kind of recognition that, their work is recognized as of a certain standard, right, by the local community. I think that's one way everyone could come out a bit happier from this. Because right now it just feels like, it's just not a good not a good taste in the mouth that Uniqlo is leaving behind in all the local artists, right?
Yeah, somewhere it's about a campaign that wants to celebrate local culture.
Yeah.
But for the local artists, it feels like there could have been more that was done in the research before this thing get steam.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Oh well.
But in that case, do you think if you were in charge of Uniqlo, would you take down the t-shirts and everything that you
take down a bit because it's no longer. Is the t-shirt still being sold?
It was released on May.
It's a limited series.
Yeah.
Limited series.
Oh yeah, you can't recall it or anything.
Yeah, can't recall it. But then now I get what the Musoka Club founder was saying. Now forever, if people saw the Uniqlo t-shirts, they couldn't get it because it's a limited series. Then they see ours, they're like, hey,
copy.
Your copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is annoying.
But that's it, right? The Uniqlo ones were also designed in collaboration with local artists Tiffany Lovitch and Kenneth Xiao. So you're pitting
stirring
artists against
shit.
artists.
Yeah. Stirring shit, man.
Fika, we got to get Fika in Uniqlo.
So maybe then the illustrators themselves were the one who, because so many people involved, right? Wow,
this is foreign interference in local harmony.
Uniqlo or the foreign interference.
Yeah,
that's right. Identity politics.
This harmony between artists.
Identity politics.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. You're right. This could implicate the local artists involved as well, right?
Yeah, that's why. Woo! Because people have different creative processes, right? It's tricky.
Tricky. Yeah.
Tricky.
But shout out to Pointy Rice. I think Tanya did a very cool thing. And, anybody who wants like the stickers, do check him out. Yeah.
Yeah. Website is live. You can buy your stickers there.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
But
yes, as always, we have the segment called the One Shiok Comment.
Yeah.
And what is your one Shiok comment of these last few days?
My one Shiok comment was, I think, on the last video on YouTube. And it is from Kim Neo 6924. And it reads, Dear Harish and Terrence, your podcast has been making the stay-at-home mom house chores less dry and tiresome. Your podcast has provided me with more insights into the current issues. I happened to chance upon your podcast during the GE period. Since then, I've been following your podcast. I've even introduced my teen girl to your podcast. But I have told her to leave out the F word from Harish. Every time we said yalla but in our conversation, we were lol. Keep up the great work and look forward to more of your podcasts. I mean, I'm not the only one who says the F word, okay?
And then
I may say it more often.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not just me, lah.
There's a reply to the actual comment that says, agree, leave the F word out.
Is it?
Yeah. Harish, it doesn't make you a more persuasive speaker just because you use the F word.
I would beg to differ. I think the F word lends itself a certain credence,
persuasive
and certain
skills,
weight. Yeah. That's my persuasive skills, lah.
Oh yeah.
F word.
Yeah, everyone's begging you to leave it out.
Yeah.
And you can tell, the thumb color, you can tell, who is it?
Or the thumb color, you mean internally someone voted up, right?
Yeah.
The person who kind of like looks at more of our comments than me,
No, I loved it. I didn't.
Oh, you loved it.
I just loved it. I loved it. I mean, it's a nice comment in general, other than the part scolding you.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. Exactly.
Mine's also from YouTube from the same episode. Damsel Fly Snap says, love you guys, not just for the content, but also for the good quality of your audio. And more importantly, unlike a lot of other podcasters, you guys enunciate your words clearly. Former teacher here, and I hate it when local YouTubers mumble and swallow their words through their videos. Please keep up the great work. So shout out to Tristen there for the great audio.
Yeah.
But also, at least when Harish pronounces his F word, he enunciates.
Yeah, that's why you can hear the and the
how persuasive it gets when he enunciates like that.
Oh, everybody's guards will just fall, man.
Yeah.
Guard down. But yeah, man, cool.
Cool.
What about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing is a recent episode on CNA Insider of On the Red Dot. And this one was Rishi was hosting it. It was called He Gave Up His Citizenship for Singapore Football, Tampines Rovers Kyogo Nakamura. So this is actually a 22-minute episode about the Japanese professional football player, or ex-Japanese professional football player who now plays for Singapore. So he gave up his citizenship in Japan to now play for Tampines Rovers and play for Singapore. So he's been playing for Singapore for a couple of years now, I think. I think we've probably seen him when you watch Singapore matches. His Kyoga Nakamura. And it's interesting because they actually follow him around and talk to him about why he gave up his Japanese citizenship for Singapore. And there's just a very interesting bit where he mentions like the point where he made the decision to give up his Japanese citizenship was when his wife was pregnant and they were on MRT and everyone stood up to give their seat to his wife. So he felt like that would never happen in Japan. In Japan, everyone's on their phones and all, but in Singapore, apparently we're really kind and we're very nice that people feel so welcome here, even though they don't speak our language or know our culture very well. That he felt compelled to come here and play football here. Yeah.
So now he's a citizen,
and he plays for Singapore.
Shit.
I mean, quite interesting in the sense that they don't let him off that easily. Also, they even have his own teammates in front of him, and then they ask the teammates, "Do you think the Singapore team should be more born and bred Singaporeans or foreign talent like Kyoga?"
Okay.
They ask it in front of him. So there are some awkward situations like that he has to answer also. So I appreciated watching that.
Who made the video again?
CNA.
Oh, CNA.
And Rishi was the host. So it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool. So my one Shiok thing is, I'm sure you have seen these videos on TikTok and Instagram where there is this artist, it can be well-known artists to like Billie Eilish and all, and they're standing in front of a colored background.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure anyone on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, you may have seen these videos. It's called Color Studio. I think their handle is Colors.
Yeah.
They have like 8 million on YouTube, Instagram 2 million, TikTok I think 3 million. And I didn't know that it is actually a studio that started out of Germany by these individuals who just felt that there needed to be a more minimalist and cleaner way of highlighting artists and the songs they create. So it was started in I think 2016 by these two individuals, and their goal was always just have a color background, have an artist there, and like rotate the colors.
Oh.
So it's called Color Studio. Their videos I think have become quite iconic, and now they've built an entire business around it where they have different kind of shows, like a colors show, a colors encore, where artists who perform in the color show, they would kind of like do another song. So it's in some way another version of Tiny Desk, you know, where it's like a non-traditional studio setup, but it showcases the artists in like as minimally as minimalist style as possible. And you look, and I think they actually have super cool. And now they get big ass stars coming.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for social media because you look at their videos, they're so vibrant. You look at the feed on Instagram and TikTok, it looks damn cool.
Yeah.
And I think chances are you have seen something like this.
No.
You haven't seen?
Who are the biggest artists that have appeared on there?
I mean, Billie Eilish has appeared.
Billie Eilish was?
Yeah, Billie Eilish has appeared. Recently, Hanuman Kind. That's how I saw it.
Yeah. A lot of these names I recognize, but I don't know the music that well.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but I've seen other people like clips go viral on YouTube or TikTok with this background. So I think they do get videos with like 80K and all on YouTube, but then when they get Billie Eilish, then it pops. But it's been going on for quite a few years, and I mean they've built a brand around it. So now their website, they sell merch and they collaborate with like Adidas and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, this is pretty damn cool, man.
Unique aesthetic music platform.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Especially like, you know, when you think, oh, there can't be any more things like Tiny Desk and all, you see this, you're like, hey, this is pretty original.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So first episode of the week.
Yeah.
Got 2 more planned as always.
Yeah.
Remember, if you enjoyed this, please follow us on social media. Leave us a rating on Spotify. Subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. And if you want to work with us,
reach out to us at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just check out ministryoffunny.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all soon.